Darkest Dungeon 1 was created by Red Hook Studios in 2016 and instantly became a hit. It had such a unique art style and unique mechanics and really fed the itch for people who want challenging video games. A big part of what made this game so great was its characters. Each character was so unique and different from each other with their own unique playstyle, art style, and everything. We wanted to know a lot about them, and all we got were these cool ass comic panels about it. The game won a ton of awards and everyone loved it. So when the second game gets announced, everyone was excited. And yet the game sits right now with mixed reviews on Steam, and it always had since the release. Why is that?
And here's the disclaimer that I know the game actually sits on very positive right now, but I do remember that when it came out and I was one of those first people who played it, everyone was kind of having their own opinion, and I remember seeing a lot of negative stuff. Nowadays, people have kind of came to understand it, but I just remember on launch, people were kind of shocked. And that's what I'm going to be talking about here, so.
When asking why people were so shocked when the second game came out and it was nothing like what they expected, we need to understand some of the core mechanics of the first game. The first game was more of a dungeon crawler. You got a load of different versions of the same character who level up and get upgraded gear. While the second one didn't have this whole upgrade and level up system for each individual characters, besides memories, but those are nothing like upgrading a character 1 to 5 and getting them increased damage and dodge. Second, the freedom of choosing your mission was way different. You knew your end goal was the darkest dungeon in the first one, but you needed to get powerful enough characters to actually do it. And they showed you a bunch of quests and you get to choose which one you want and what level it is. Darkest Dungeon 2, you only get 5 missions, and you don't necessarily need to upgrade them per se, since all the upgrades for abilities are completely reset upon entering a new mission. 3. The Hamlet upgrade system, where you upgraded a crappy broken down town into a functioning city, was completely changed into just unlocking more items and characters. You never really saw the progression of a city growing. This game released on the Epic Games Store for the first year before going to Steam. I have no idea why they decided to do that, because that's never a good sign for any game. Removing these big fundamental mechanics is a pretty big step when making a sequel, since you might be disappointing people who really like these mechanics, and that's exactly why people were upset. They got rid of a lot of the things that made Darkest Dungeon 1, and I even saw some comments that were saying that if this game wasn't called Darkest Dungeon, you would never even know that it's a sequel. That being said, I wanted to say some personal opinions on what I think was better and worse in the second game. I really like how they expanded on the characters with their backstories and how you get to play it. I like how they toned down a lot of the RNG, like, guaranteed hits. I like the boss fights. I think they were all pretty cool, and, they looked awesome. I like how diverse team comps are now that you don't always need a healer. That being said, I dislike how the game boils down to DPS rushing, making dots, non-optional. I dislike how you have to do every backstory just to get the abilities. And that ties into how I dislike how certain skill trees just seem completely useless or, obsolete. The point is, I don't blame people who don't enjoy the second game, but this doesn't mean by any means that it's a bad game. Personally, I really do think 2 is just more fun, something I can pick up more often. I love running through it. While Darkest Dungeon 1, sometimes bullshit happens and you're set back just hours, and it's really annoying. To me, 2 is a lot more easy to understand, and it's more streamlined, but not in a bad way. For those that even like the stuff in the first game, they added kingdoms, which is kind of like that the Hamlet building that people really like so much. The devs know that they got rid of a lot of stuff that people like, so they're trying to make up for it. Did it take a little bit? Yeah, but I'd cut them some slack, So it comes down to this, and I made a separate video about this, but when making a second game, there are a lot of expectations that need to be met. And the fans of Darkest Dungeon 1 had the expectations of a very similar game, and the devs went a whole nother route with it. It's still Darkest Dungeon, but it just kind of went in a new direction, and that's why the reception is so strange. But the devs really care about the game, and the game is still a ton of fun, and I can't wait to see what else they have in store, because the Abomination is really sick, even if I don't think he's that great of a character. So I just wish that when people give a criticism of game, they actually try it and play enough of it, so that they can understand with a new perspective, and you can't just be blinded by old nostalgia. Well, that's all I gotta say, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.